Senator from Clarendon is recognized.
Minutes, but I'm going to try to do this in less than 1 minute. And I know we have entertained several bills under special order this year, and we just placed the election bill on special order, and I think that's a good bill. But I just want to make one more pitch, and the reason why I'm going to be brief, because I think I went into a lot of detail a few weeks ago, I want to make one more pitch for a bill that means a lot to many of us in the chamber, not all of us, but many of us, on the hate crime legislation. And I read this morning or heard about some incident happening in Brooklyn, New York. I don't know if that's a hate crime or not, but hate crimes are prevalent all across our country. And I think the evidence of that is that we are, again, one of 2 states that don't have a hate crime bill. So I just rise again. I'm not asking everybody to support the bill, which would be very nice. I'm just asking we at least have an opportunity to debate the bill. It's all kind of crazy stuff that's going on in our country. And some of it is fueled by hate. And maybe, just maybe, if the penalty for committing hate crimes was a little more stiff, that might deter some, I don't know. But I just want to just ask again, the session is winding down, the bill passed the House, hate is all around, that we would at least have an opportunity to debate the bill, and then at some point we'd be allowed to vote it up or vote it down. And I would really like for South Carolina not to be one of 2 states, along with Wyoming, to not have hate crime legislation. And I'm just fearful at some point Wyoming's going to come around and we may be the only state, which I think does not look good for South Carolina, and given the fact that some of the most notorious hate crime has been committed here in South Carolina.
Senator from Richland, Senator Jackson, what purpose you rise, sir?
Thank you, Mr. President. With Senator Yield.
Senator yields for questions.
Senator from Clarendon, isn't it true that what you're really asking is just to begin a debate? And is it true that you would not even mind us debating the bill that was filed by the senator from Horry, who's on that side of the aisle, chairman of Education Committee, former solicitor, who has filed a hate crimes bill? You would not object to having some debate, some discussion on the bill filed by the senator from Horry, former solicitor. You wouldn't mind even debating that bill, because
100% correct.
Wouldn't you agree? And I want to commend the senator from Horry. A year or so ago, he and I were trying to work things out, and there were some on our side of the aisle who thought that bill was too benign. But now we've changed and says, if that is what we can get, we will accept that. We will accept the bill that the senator from Horry filed as is, to at least get it in conference. Wouldn't you agree that?
Totally agree.
That at least at some point, and listen, Senator, did you know that there were some of us that were very tempted to object to some of those unanimous consents? But in the spirit of cooperation in this body, trying to get something done like early voting, we did not, because we do know that that's important. But at least, in all fairness, allow there to be some debate, some discussion about a bill that's been filed by a former great solicitor, friend of all of ours, senator from Horry. We would, in fact, if you want to ask unanimous consent to pull his bill out of committee as is, I'm sure you wouldn't mind putting that bill on the calendar today, right?
That's exactly right.
I'm not going to ask it because I know what the result would be. But just for the record, I want the record to reflect that you're not endorsing any particular bill that we will support strongly now, the senator from Horry's bill, in which a year or so ago you had some reservation, apprehension about that. So did I and many others. But in the spirit of negotiation, the spirit of compromise, isn't it true that we are willing to compromise? All we are asking is for some debate on a bill that our good friend has filed from Horry.
And Senator, that's
that I
all
think
I'm
would be a
asking
great bill.
Is that we have the opportunity to debate the bill. Everybody can vote their own conviction. But let's not send a message. As I said, hate is prevalent all around. let's not send a message to those who have that mentality. That let's
Senator from
commit this
Greenville.
crime in South Carolina, the penalties won't be as bad as it will be in 48 other states. That's the message I think that we're sending.
Senator from Greenville, Senator Allen, what purpose do you rise, sir?
See if the senator will yield.
Senator yield for
I
a
will.
question. Senator yields for a question.
Senator, did you say that we're one of 2 states that do not have a hate crime bill?
Senator, I have sat here year after year when people feel strongly about a bill and they want to encourage those of us to vote for it. More often than not, they would say, well, you know, this many states have the same bill or similar bill. So this hate crime legislation we're talking about, every state has a hate crime bill except for South Carolina and Wyoming.
So we're keeping, the great state of South Carolina is keeping company with Wyoming.
The great state of South Carolina is keeping company with Wyoming on that issue, and the great state of South Carolina is saying that we don't want hate crime legislation, despite the fact that hate is even on the rise. It just, you know, you have people out there that just do things, and this has been increasing year after year, especially over the last 4 or 5 years, and we need to have something in place, I believe, that says that if you commit crime, and it's ruled by a jury, determined by a jury, that your crime is based on hate, you're going to have more severe penalty than what you would otherwise have. And this is a state that we passed the death penalty, we've approved the firing squad, but yet still we won't pass hate crime legislation.
And did the House not pass a hate crime legislation bill?
I think they passed it overwhelmingly, which I'll be honest with you was a surprise to me. I thought the hurdle to cross would be getting the bill passed in the House, not in the Senate. And I say that again because we have a former colleague who's on the wall, our colleague who is not here today because of an act of hate.
And did the House not name that legislation after our colleague in this Senate body?
They did.
And do you recall the words of the late, great Senator Clemente Pinckney saying from that well that the eyes of the nation is upon South Carolina?
I recall that, and I believe I still have the recording of that.
And so the eyes of the nation is watching South Carolina on this hate crime legislation, and we're still not debating it. Is that correct?
Right, and really, I'm disappointed that we haven't passed hate crime legislation, but I'm more highly disappointed that we're not even given a chance to debate the merits of the legislation.
Senator, your time has expired.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator from Fairfield. what
Unanimous
purpose do you
consent
ask?
request.
State your request.
5 more minutes for the senator so he could entertain a few questions.
Is there objection for up to 5 minutes? Heard none. So ordered. Senator from Fairfield, what purpose do you rise, sir?
See if Senator yield for a few questions.
Senator Yields.
Senator yields for questions.
Senator, how long has the bill passed the House? Was that recently, or is this a while ago now that the bill has passed the
I
House?
think, and I stand to be corrected, that it passed earlier in this session.
So a good deal of thought went into this. It took a long deliberative process. The State Chamber of Commerce, do you know if they are backing this piece of legislation?
My understanding, and again, I stand to be corrected, is that they do support the legislation.
Did you know you are correct, and that is one of their top priorities? And did you know one of the reasons was that they wanted to send a message that we are a friendly state, we're at least with the 48 other states that have passed similar policy, and did you know that they believe it's good for business is one of the reasons that the State Chamber and other chambers have
That's my
supported this?
understanding, yes, sir.
And so this bill, is it true, has followed a lengthy deliberative process, went through the House committee, went through the full committee, went to the floor, vigorous debate on the floor, passed the floor, and then went to the Senate, and what has happened to it in the Senate?
Well, as I said, the measure has stalled because we can't even debate the bill. We can't even make points in favor of or against the bill.
Where is the bill now, Senator?
I believe the bill resides, is it in judiciary? I'm really not sure. I know I can't ask, but anyway, it's out there, and I think we deserve
Would you be
chance.
surprised to know it's on the calendar? And did you know we just can't get to it because we have objections to it? Is that correct, Senator?
I understand that to be correct.
And so is it true that we have a bill on the calendar that we've had for quite some time, that has gone through a subcommittee and a full committee process in the Senate, went through a subcommittee and full committee in the House, was debated on the House floor, and is it correct to say that we can't get to that bill to even debate it? Is that correct?
Absolutely correct, and well, yeah, that's correct.
Is it true that just a few minutes ago we were asked to give unanimous consent to set a bill to special order that hasn't even completed the committee process? Is that correct?
That's correct.
So we've got one bill that has not finished the committee process that we set a special order to make sure we get to debate it, respecting the rights for people to vote it up or down. Yet this bill that's gone through an intensive year-and-a-half process can't be debated. Can you explain why that is, Senator?
I can't explain it, and like I said, I know people have strong feelings one way or the other, but I think if we can just have the chance to debate the bill, we may be able to get it passed, and maybe that's one of the fears. I don't know. I think it's good legislation. I think it's needed because of the world and the state that we live in, but I can't understand why we haven't been able to address it through the regular process. It's on the calendar. Let's have a chance to discuss it. And as you said, I'm with you. I'm a member of the minority party, and we have dealt with a lot of issues through special order that, in my opinion, are less important, at least to me, than this particular piece of legislation.
Did you know that we've used special order more this session than in any session in modern history?
Well, I know since I was here we have.
And did you know that we just used it to set a bill to special order that's not even on the floor yet?
Point made.
And are you asking us to pass this hate crimes legislation that's on the calendar, or are you simply asking us to debate it?
I would love to see it pass. I think it's worthy to be passed because of the situation that we live in. But all I'm asking for is an opportunity for this Senate to debate the bill and vote on it before we adjourn in a few weeks.
And we said, did you know we just set a bill to special order that's not even out of committee yet? And yet this bill has been on the Senate calendar since May 5th of last year. So did you know that we are setting a bill to special order that hasn't even gotten through, and I can't say without laughing, but a committee process to make it to the floor, and yet we won't even debate a bill that's been on the calendar for an entire year. Is that correct?
That's one of the reasons why I rose again, to try again to at least let us have an opportunity to debate this legislation.
Senator from Richland, Senator Jackson, what purpose you rise?
President, with Senator Yield for one last quick question.
yield.
Senator,
Yield for a
are
question.
you aware that in 1999, let me say that again, in 1999, the South Carolina Senate was one of the first and early legislative bodies in the country that passed hate crimes legislation.
I just became aware of that probably within the last week or so.
23 years ago, South Carolina Senate, one of the first legislative bodies in the country to pass hate crimes legislation.
Yes, sir.
And in 2022, we can't even debate it. Does that sound like progress to you?
That's going backwards, and as I said before when I was here, hate does not know political affiliation.
Senator, let me ask you this before your time runs out. Maybe some of these industries that are thinking about coming to South Carolina, you think that perhaps they ought to take a look at this. I mean, one of only 2 states.
I've heard some chatter.
Listen, Senator, I've been a part of some national conversations that have asked me to engage with national industry about not coming to South Carolina. I've refused to do that because here's what I said to the National Urban League and others. I said, we will come around. South Carolina always does the right thing. A friend of mine called me and said, you told me that 2 years ago. The question is, how long does it take you to come around? And so, I mean, there are a lot of great things that are happening. We're going to debate in the budget. Other stuff. We're proud of industries that are here, industries that are coming. Just in a couple weeks, White Claw is going to have a ribbon cutting about a major industry in South Carolina. I mean, Senator, sooner or later, we're going to have to address the fact that we are one of 2 states. Don't you agree that we will eventually get hate crimes? Let me tell you. The question is, how much pain will we have to endure before we get it? You remember when others said the flag would never be removed? It would never happen? Someone said then, I remember Senator Kay Patterson took to the podium, says, it will eventually come down and be moved. The question is, how much pain do we have to endure before it happens? So wouldn't you agree that our colleagues ought to consider that we are delaying the inevitable. We will not go down in history as only one or two states that's not having hate crimes. The only question is, let's do it now. Let's do it painlessly. Let's not inflict economic, social embarrassment and pain on us in the process of getting it done. Thank you, Senator.
I agree. And one more thing, what I started to say, this hate, if you read the news like I read the news, it doesn't know political party, it doesn't know gender, it doesn't know race, it doesn't know age. Hate is being, all of us are exposed to it. And all this legislation, well, not all, but the main thing this legislation would do would stiffen the penalty somewhat for those who a jury convicts of committing this crime based on hate.
Time has expired, Senator.